Alright guys, so we're on to part 2 of this video. We're clearing this rust on this old this old Chevrolet truck here. And let me show you where I'm at with this. I was about ready to make this video a little while ago, and someone decided to pull up across the street with a mowing service and mow the lawn. So I couldn't make it with all that noise. There's still a mower down the street going. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'll try to talk a little louder so you guys can hear me. And it's about dinner time too, so I'm not sure how much this video I'll be able to make before that happens, but let's get started on this and I'll show you guys where I'm at with it and where we're going with it. Okay, so in part 1, of course, I removed all the old rust and got down to good metal on everything, got it all cleaned up. So the next thing I did was, if you remember right, on both sides of this inner fender, on this side and over there on that side, I cut in kind of at an angle to get past all the rust. Well, then I want this edge here to be straight. Okay, so what I did is I cut, instead of leaving that like that, I went down, cut all the way down, so this line would go straight. Hold on. So this line here would go straight down and meet up with the fender, and I would have good metal to attach to. I cut all the way down, and you can see the inner lip is there. And then on this side over here, I did the same thing. You can see I cut that piece out. So now I've got good metal, good inner fender on both sides that I can attach to. And then I pulled the metal apart here. There was some dirt and stuff packed in there. I cleaned all that out to make sure it's cleaned out, okay? And then I also took the gas tank assembly out, the filler neck. This goes in there. There's a couple of torque screws in the top. They're T30s, and there's a little plastic clip in the bottom. You take that loose, and then there's 3 7mm screws that hold the actual filler neck into this plastic adapter. So I took that out and I pushed the filler neck down into the body down there, because I don't want it anywhere near where I'm making sparks and all that. And plus I can reach in here and get to this. So the next step I want to take is I want to open this up so I can get in here and clean the rust out. Okay, so I want to do that next. Go to the door, yeah. All right, and dinner just arrived, so probably gonna have to end this pretty quick here. All right, so anyhow, that's where I'm at with that, and I'm gonna go eat dinner, and when we're done, I'll come back and continue to show you guys the rest of this. You won't even know I'm gone. I'll be back. See, I told you guys wouldn't miss me. 8.5 seconds. All right, so the next thing we want to do here is I want to start fitting this panel. And what I want to do is I want to put this panel where I think it should be, and I want to mark it where it lines up with this cut here and this cut here. Okay, so I'm going to put it up here, and I'm going to put it approximately where I think it needs to be on either side, and then I'm going to hold it in place with a pair of vice grips. On that side, and this side here, you got to kind of make sure it's good and tight up against there. Get it in the right spot. That's kind of loose. Tighten that up just a little bit. Okay, so that's approximately where the thing's going to go. So now what I want to do is I want to mark it so it's the new panel butts up to the old panel on the fender lip right here. So I want to mark, so when I cut it, I want it to butt up. I don't want it to go below it. I want it to butt up right against it on the bottom here. And it's going to go underneath up at the top. So we're not going to worry about that. Matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to cut this top edge here. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to round these corners, but I also got to cut some off of here because I can't overlap into the gas door. And then I'm going to cut some off this side too because I don't need that much back into the fender. So I'm going to cut that back. So I've got that in place. Another thing you want to remember is you want to measure from your tire to the bottom side of the, I'll leave those there because I'm going to need them in a minute. But from your tire to the bottom side of the fender lip. And this one here is about 7.5. The other side is 7 3/4. I've already measured it. So I'm pretty close. I'm about 1/4 of an inch off. But when I cut this and I push this up to line that up, it's going to probably push it up a little more. When I cut some of this off, it's going to let this go up a little higher, I believe. Okay. And actually, I've already marked this side because I was working on it before I started this video, but I have not marked this side. So I'm going to take my marker, my blue marker here, and I'm going to mark right where the old metal meets the new metal. So I'm going to mark across there like that. Like that, okay? All right, so now I've got that pretty much where I want it to be. I could take and put a sheet metal screw in here if I needed to hold this, but I think it's pretty close. And if you look, let me show you here. Try to get, I don't know if I can get you guys in here to see this or not, but I'm going to try. So if you pull this back, you can see right down in there, you can see right there where my finger is. That's the old lip of the inner fender, and it's this is the new lip, and they're touching each other right there. And also on this side, right here, they're touching as well, right there. So it's the new one's touching the old one. But when I cut, you can see I've got this marked. When I cut this out, it's going to raise up a little bit. So I'm going to cut a little bit below that line because that's my mark. And I also, what I did is I took, where's my square at in my level? So I'm just using what I have on hand. So I took a square and I kind of set it up there like that and eyeballed it and do a fairly straight line across there like that. And then I took, I measured in 2 inches. I think, was it 2 inches? Let me see for sure. I measured in, oh, too far. Yeah, I measured in 2 inches and made a line there. And then I measured from here back, and that's 2.5. So then I came up here and I marked 2.5 in, and then I took this level and I laid it across there on those 2 marks and made myself a line that's 2.5. Oops, sorry. Laid it across those marks and made myself a line, drew myself a vertical line that's 2.5 inches in from this edge. So I'm gonna cut this 90 degrees, but I'll end up rounding this corner before I'm done because I don't want a sharp edge on it. I don't want a 90-degree bend on it. I want it to be radiused a little bit. And I'm gonna cut this cut first because I want to keep this piece because I might want to use it to try to repair the missing part of the inner fender there. So I want that piece to be as long as possible. So I'm going to cut that one first and then cut this short piece off when I'm done. And now I got to measure this side the same way. So let me put my phone back in the stand and we'll do that before I pull this panel off. And I'll zoom you guys in here where you can kind of see what I'm doing. All right. Okay, where's my mark? mark is up here. How's it going? All right. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take my square here. And I'm going to just eyeball this to get it kind of close. So my mark is right there. And basically I'm just kind of putting this edge here flat, and then I'm just kind of eyeballing to make it look about 90 degrees. I want it to be pretty square across, about there. Then I'm going to go across with my mark, make a line. So now there's my line across. And then I'm going to go in 2 inches on this side as well. I'm going to go in 2 inches, make a mark right there. Then I'm going to measure, and that's 3 inches. Then I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to measure, let me check that one more time, slightly more than 3 inches, but I'll just put it right there like that. All right. You guys see what I'm doing? No. Let me back out just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So I came up here and I made a mark at 3 inches, slightly beyond 3 inches there. And then I'm going to take my square, and again I'm going to lay it all the way down this panel because I want to do the whole thing. And we're going to make a line all the way down. And now I'm going to cut this so I have a long section here that I can also use to fix this lip with. And now what I'm going to do, one thing you guys want to, all right, let's back you back out some more so you can see what I'm doing here. One thing you guys, okay, one thing you guys want to remember is when you're doing this, once you cut this metal, you're done. You can't like put it back. So I'm not going to cut on this line. I'm going to cut below this line, probably maybe an inch approximately. So I have a little extra. I can always cut it a second time, which I'm sure I will. But once I cut this off, this section off here, and this section off here, once I cut those 2 sections off, then I'll be able to see, push this panel up a little higher and see where I'm at, where I line up. So let's do that. All right, so I'm going to take that off. Oh, let's put that up there. Don't drop it. All right, and now we're going to cut both of these. And again, I'm going to cut this line first. Cut this line first, and then I'm going to cut this line, but I'm going to cut below it probably about an inch, just to make sure, because this is where it lines up now. But once I cut this section off, it's probably going to go up a little higher, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm going to cut a little bit below that to make sure I've got enough metal for it to match up. Okay, so let's do that. All right. My battery died. right, let me go get another battery. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. I'll finish making this cut. Now I'm going to cut this, but I'm going to cut, my line is right here, so I'm going to go about right in there, just kind of eyeball it. There we go. Now I got to cut the other side. Again, I'm going to cut the long cut first. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. My line is right here, so I'm going to go below it. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm not going to measure. Go about an inch below that. There we go. All right. Now, I've got two nice pieces that I can use to make up that lip that's missing if I want to. I haven't decided whether I'm going to use them yet or not, but as you can see, I'm a little short, so I may have to, well, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I'll figure it out, but I got these two pieces to use. Oh, and I can also take these. I could actually take this piece here and extend. I want to make sure you guys can see this over here. Take the pin. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing over there. Okay. So I could take this piece and I could extend this lip and cut, more or less cover up that hole. Or I could even use it over here and cover up that hole. And I can use this one. Actually, that one works really well right there. Look at that. That fits really well. So if I want to extend that lip out, I can do that. And yeah, I can do that right there. And then cut this to fit inside there. I can just cut it to fit that contour, or I could cut that off and just make it fit pretty easily. So I could do that. One thing I don't like is this lip on the inside. When it's on the inside like this, and you got this lip on top of the factory lip, outside fender lip, it tends to get dirt and crud in there, and that's what causes these to rust out so bad. So I'm kind of thinking that if I just take this and I attach this to the inside of the fender, the new fender piece, then I'll be able to eliminate that double layer of metal that's basically laying flat like this right here, and dirt can just lay on top of it. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet for sure. You know, you got to kind of go along with the process as you go, but I'm not going to have a way to make a lip all the way across unless I like splice pieces together. I could have gotten another one of these and cut the lip out of it and used it to replace this lip with, but I didn't do that. I didn't think about it. I didn't know this was rusted out until I got up here to my son-in-law's house. So, but I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm kind of liking the idea of just taking a hammer and hammering this in up against this and just tacking it in place and then sealing it and eliminating that double layer of metal right there. You know, on the sides down here, the rainwater is going to make the dirt and stuff run down, and it's not going to stick as well. That's why it doesn't rust out very much here. But up here, you know, when you're sitting like that, when your lip is sitting like that, and you got dirt sitting right on top, and it can't go away. The water doesn't get it to go away, and if you don't spray up in there when you wash your truck at the car wash, then this just sits up there, and it eventually rusts through that, and just, you know, gets between those two layers and rusts them out. So you got two layers like this basically, because you got the outer fender here, the inner fender here, and they lay like that. So you got these two layers there, and dirt gets in between them and causes them to rust. Well, down here it's going to run out because it's a vertical surface, but up here it's just going to sit in there. So if I just have the outer lip like that, and then I attach this to the inside of the fender, I'm going to eliminate the possibility of that rusting out. But I also want to open this up more so I can get in here and clean the top of the fender well out and coat it with some rust killer, so it hopefully slows down the process of it rusting, because the factory doesn't do a good job. All right, let's see how this fits now. Now this side here lines up almost exactly where my line is that I drew. So I think it's going to be close. And even though I cut, kind of hard to do with only one person. I can always move that again later if I need to. I want to show you guys this. Clamp that in place. Okay, now first thing I want to do when I first put this on is I want to measure and see where I'm at. And I am at about 7 5/8 now. So I'm basically 1/8 of an inch away from the other side, which isn't going to be noticeable, but I want to show you guys something here. So you know, this is why you cut a little extra right here. So again, I'm just trying to make this fit, okay? So if you look on the front side of this thing, you can see there's my line. See, there's my line right there, and right there is the lip. See the lip? Right there. So I'm a little bit below the line. Obviously I've got too much still, but I can cut maybe half of this off again and be close. All right, now look at this side. See this side? Hold on, let me grab my light. Kind of hard to see. There we go. Now see this side? See where my line is at? My line is almost even with the cut. So I wasn't sure, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. But it almost looks to me like I could cut that right where the line is, and it would fit, because I'm now at 7 5/8 here instead of 7 1/2. And I think once I cut a little bit more off each one of these and move it up, then I'll be probably really close to 7 3/4 here. Okay. So now let's take it back off again, and we're going to cut it again, but I'm not going to cut it on the line. I'm going to cut it just a little bit below the line on both sides, because again, once you cut it, you can't uncut it. So I'd rather make 2 or 3 cuts that are too long than 1 cut that's too short. All right, so we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to cut, I'm going to cut about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way. From this line, I'm going to cut about 1/4 of the way down to that one, to that edge. Okay, so let's do that first. Oh wait, I need my ear protection. All right. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. I'm not gonna measure. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Now you can see how much I've cut off. I cut off a little more than half of it. All right, now do the same thing to this side. Again, I'm just going to eyeball it, not going to measure. All right, and now you can see how much I got left. See my line there? You can see my line. I got about less than 1/2 inch of a lip there, and about the same there, about 3/8 of an inch or so. Okay, so let's fit it up again. This is a process you got to go through when you're doing this. You don't want to cut too much and leave yourself without anything left. You want to make sure you get it right. So now what I'm going to try to do, well, I was going to try to get this to go in there, but I can tell you just by looking at it that it's not going to go. So I'm going to go ahead on this side. I'm going to go ahead and cut on the line. This side here, I may have to cut just a little bit above the line. So let's go ahead and do that. Check it again. Like I said, I'd rather be safe than sorry. All right, so now I'm going to cut this one right on the line. And this one here, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here, and I'm going to cut a little bit above the line because I think I'm okay. So I'm going to put my disc on the top side of the line. So it's the bottom of my disc. This side of my disc is going to be touching the top of the line. Cutting a little bit more than the line shows. Alright. And now we should be pretty close to fitting this thing in there. Oh yeah, look at that. Like a glove. Okay, so let me put this side in. Ouch. That's hot. Burning my hand. All right, now I'm going to measure real quick. See where I'm at.
Didi,
Yeah?
wait for me. I'm gonna take a quick shower, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. All right, sorry, my wife was talking to me. Well, so now I'm a little short here, so I need to move this up. We'll see if it moves up enough. Need to move both sides up, actually, not just one side. Okay. Oh, tape measure, there it is. All right, now I'm at about 7 5/8 again. So I'm an 1/8 of an inch difference between the two sides, which isn't bad at all. I'm okay with that. So I think that's about where this thing's going to sit. So now, what I want to do, let me show you where I'm at with this. I could have cut it a little bit longer, but I'm not hurting myself. And the reason I'm not hurting myself is because, remember when I cut down here and then across, and I left the inner fender was still there and it was good shape. You can see it right there. And let me get the light. You can't see it. So I've got a little bit of a gap, see that? But I can fill that gap with weld, and it'll be a good strong connection between the two pieces. I'll just have to clean that up real good and fill that in with weld. And of course this outer piece isn't all the way in. It's obviously outside the fender right here. Okay, and this side here is the same way. I got a little bit of a gap. I could have made it a little tighter, but I'm happy with it. It's fine. I can just fill that little gap in with weld, no problem. All right. So now that I've got this where I think it's going to be, now what I need to do is I need to mark. Well, actually, I need to take it off, and I want to round these corners because I don't want them. I don't want a 90 degree. I don't want a 90 degree weld here. You don't want to weld on a 90 degree angle because it creates a weak point in your weld. You want it to be rounded. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to round the corners of it, and then I'm going to figure out how much I need to cut around here to get it to fit. All right, so let's do that. Now I'm going to take it off. Okay. Yeah, that fits. I mean, it's like you can see how much is moving back and forth. That's how much slop I got. If I'd have cut this one here right on the line, I'd have been fine. I cut it above the line. I mean, I'm fine anyhow, but I'm just saying if I'd have cut this one on the line, I still would have been okay. But I'm not worried about that little gap. I can fill that really easily. Okay, now I want to round these corners off because I don't want to weld a 90 degree corner. So I'm going to cut these out of 45 approximately. And then round cut at 45, and then I kind of took my grinder and I rounded the edges, so there's no sharp edges, there's no sharp points to weld on anywhere. All right, let's do this side. I'll show you what this looks like. Well, this is what this looks like now. See that? See, I cut the 45, and then I just took my grinder and I smoothed out them corners so they're flat, or so they're rounded. I mean, so they're not any sharp edges there. That's how you want to do a panel when you weld it in place. You don't want a 90-degree corner. It creates a weak point. All right, now we got to cut the other two. Last corner. See the flashing along the edge there? I got to clean that off too. All right. Now we've pretty much got the panel we're going to use in the end. It may not be exactly what I want it to be, but it's going to be very close. Now I can fit that up there. I'm gonna try something here. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but I'm gonna try it. Where's my other vice grip at? Did it fall on the ground? Oh. There it is. I'm gonna butt the front end of it in place and put all the gap in the back because I want to see if it gives me any more height. On the inside the fender, from the tire to the. Oh, that didn't go where I wanted it to go. There we go. I don't know if it's going to give me any more height or not. We'll see. Just try it and see. Okay. All right, tape measure. I guess that's kind of a nice thing about having it where you can move it back and forth. You can adjust it either way. No, that didn't help me any. Now I'm back down to about 7.5. Okay, so let me do it the other way, just out of curiosity. Butt the back up against it. Let's see if that does anything. No, that doesn't do anything either. Okay, so I guess right in the middle is where it gives me a little bit more leeway. Okay, that's good to know. Pop this one loose. I'll try to move this side up a little bit. Let's see if I can go up with it. I don't know if I can or not. Okay. Measure it one more time. Just said this is the time consuming. All right, I'm about 7 5/8 there. That's about as good as I'm going to get it. You know, this is an aftermarket panel. It's not exactly going to fit the way a factory panel would. So it's going to be, you know, you're going to have to make adjustments, but it's going to be pretty close. So now I know where the outside of this panel is going to sit. So now I can take my marker and I can mark the outside of this panel. On the fender, and I know where it's going to sit. There we go. Okay. So now we know where that's going to go. And now I need to determine what I should cut as far as having enough overlap that I can put that underneath of it, but still having enough room where I can get in there and clean. And I've got this, the mark I just made is all the way up to here, so I've got from there to there, I've got plenty of room to cut. I've got several marks here. I'm just trying to look and see where they're at. So I think what I'm going to do, like I said, you got to make do with what you have. Where's my web? I don't want a lot of overlap. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this level, I'm going to put it on the outside line, and then I'm going to mark the inside line. And that'll give me my cut point to cut it. So if I put that right there, and I mark mark this. It moved on me, dang it. Mark that. And then I put it down here. And I mark that. And again, I can always cut a different spot if I need to. Alright, and then I put it across the top on the line. So, mark across there, and mark across there. I didn't go far enough on this side, so I'm going to extend this line a little further. There we go. All right, and then I come over here, put my level on my line. Mark that. And then I come over here. Where's my line at? There it is. Put my level on that line. Mark there. Put it on this 45-degree bend. There. This 45-degree bend. There. Okay. I don't know how well you guys can see this. I'll have to try to show it to you the best I can. Get my light, it might be a little better. Starting to get late in the evening, so it might be kind of hard to see. Well, I wish I had like a yellow marker. It'd be a whole lot easier to see and do, but I don't have one. Okay, I'll try to show you guys this as best I can. So I basically use the width of the level to mark my lines. Okay, so there's my original line. Here's my original line right here, coming up and curving. So I marked in here up to that line and then straight up. And you can see, trying to get it where there you go. See where they both make the bend. You can see that where they make the bend, and then they both come across all the way across to this corner, and you can see where I made the 45-degree bend there, and the outside bend, and then you come down in the bottom, and there's the curve line. There's the curve line right there, and there's my cut line right there. So I'm going to have a piece overlap of about that much, and I can always, if I had to, I could go in and cut it even shorter, but I think that's going to work just fine. That's going to eliminate all of the rust off this whole outer fender. There's going to be no rust at all left on it anywhere, because I can feel up in with my hand, and that's clean metal. I can feel that. That's clean. So if I cut up all the way up to there, it's going to be clean metal, and it'll give the body man plenty of space to be able to blend that in. Okay. Well, now I got to take the biggest cut that I've made so far, and I'm going to make this cut, and then I'm going to end this video because it's already 45 minutes, almost an hour long, so I don't want to make it any longer. So I'm going to go ahead and make this cut. Oh, let's see here. All right. And again, I can always adjust once I get this cut out. I've got probably more than I need. I can always, you know, come in here and cut little pieces out here and there to make that panel fit if I have to. Well, let's go ahead and cut this out. Oops. Sorry, I need my hearing protection. I only got one ear left, so I got to save that one ear I have left. If you notice, there's body putty all the way up to here, so I'm not hurting anything anyhow by cutting it that high. Alright, gotta get you guys a little bit out of the way here. Okay. See a couple spots I missed up here. Okay. All right. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. All right, so now I've cut that out. You can see that. That's going to come right out. And now you look, if you look at this, see the rust that I removed? On both sides I removed rust, and there's even rust in the middle. So now I'm way above that rust. So now all the rust that I can reach is gone. So it should be good clean metal beyond that. And actually, let me see something here. I could take this if I need to. I could take that and fill that in too if I wanted to. Use that to fill that in with. Now, let me show you something here. This is why I did what I did. You're thinking, man, you cut a big chunk of metal out of that fender. Yes, that's true, I did. But now I've got full access to all of this. I can clean all that rust off, clean that up, and I can coat that with rust killer or something, And this is the problem you have. The problem you have is this part doesn't get cleaned, it doesn't get protected, and it rusts right back again, and then just rusts from the inside out. And that's exactly what happened with this truck, because it wasn't protected. But now I've got a nice big hole. I can reach in there. I think I brought it out here. Yeah. I've got a little toothbrush wire brush. I can reach in there and I can clean all that up, scrub it all up, get all that cleaned off. I can get some brake cleaner or something and clean that off, and then paint it with rust killer, and it'll take care of all that. Get rid of all that rust and keep it from coming back. But now I got to put the panel in here, and I got to decide what I want to do with this inner fender, because I don't know yet. So that's where that's at. All right, so before I end this, let's throw this panel up here real quick and just kind of get a quick look at what it's going to look like. I want it to go on the inside. If you notice right across here when I cut, there's body filler dust flying off there. So the body filler's all the way up to there. So whoever did this before put a whole bunch of body filler in this fender they didn't need to. I'm hoping to get this to go behind there like so, and get the other side. I gotta figure out how to get it behind there. But basically that's what it's going to look like when I'm done. And I've got an overlap. You can see I'm checking, and all my marks still line up, so I've got a good overlap. That's taken care of. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to get this panel to go inside this fender, and that's going to be a little bit of a trick to do that. One thing I thought about doing was cutting it in half and putting each half together and then welding it down the middle, and I may end up having to do that. I don't know, but maybe I can figure something else out too. I gotta work on it. I want this panel inside the other panel, inside the fender, like that. So that's how it's looking, okay? So now I got to figure out how to get this inside of that. So let me work on that, and then we'll do part 3. All right, guys, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what I'm doing, keep watching, and we'll show you how to finish this up, okay? All right, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you later. Bye.